I'm gonna let this man speak, but I'm gonna react to this video, and this is the type of stuff that everybody knows I talk about. This is the type of stuff that everybody knows that I talk about. You see, stuff like this doesn't get a lot of views because people don't think that this can happen to them. But listen to this story, what this man is saying. The stuff that I say about being poor and homeless, he's going to hit the nail right in the coffin. Just listen.
2025 and everyone's poor. In America, everyone's poor. And it's normal now. And that was the point. The average person in America is simply getting left behind. The work culture is changing. It's been bad for a long time, but it's just getting worse. There's no real incentive anymore. There's just expectation. And the expectation is that you need to work between 60 and 80 hours a week. Essentially, it's normal now to work 2 full-time jobs. To work 80 hours a week 10, 20 years ago would have been lunacy. You'd be called a workaholic. It was a negative thing. Now it's normal. It's expected. In fact, if you work less than 80 hours a week, there's probably something wrong with you. You're just not being productive. At what point in the work culture?
I talk about this. Everybody knows I talk about how people are either working 16-hour shifts or they working 2 jobs. It's either 16-hour shifts at their job or they working 2 jobs just to survive. Keep going.
Has this become normal? This has become normal because being poor has become normal. There are more Americans now living in poverty. There's more child poverty now than there's probably been since the Great Depression. It's a normal thing in America now. America is falling behind and its people have been left behind. In the managerial class, the bureaucratic class, they're just completely out of touch with Americans. I recently read an article on USA Today, and they're saying it's starting to look bad for poor Americans. But the fact is, who are the poor Americans? Because it's a majority now. The middle class has been erased. All you have now is upper middle class, upper middle class, upper class, and the poors, the thrifts, people like us. And though we can look at inflation rates, we can look at wages have gone up slightly, but we are still feeling the great impacts of what we've seen happen over the past 4 and 5 years. With a rapid, obscene printing of money, we've seen the devaluation of the US dollar to the point.
Now, you heard what he said. They've been taking a lot of money and putting it overseas, and they gave it to these illegal aliens. And the people in America, like he said, are poor. You either got to work a 16-hour shift or 2 jobs in order to make it in. Okay? You have poor people in California, which is Skid Row, New York City, Midtown Manhattan, Chicago, downtown Chicago, and I'm sure other places, Miami, Seattle, Washington. One of my friends, that's where he's from, and he said it got bad down there. You know, fortunately, his mother and father worked hard. They got their own house, and he's straight and he's good with them. Him and his sisters and cousins and stuff. But this how bad it's getting. So I'm not the only one talking about this. I'm so glad I found this guy. He's on the same level that I'm on. We're telling like it is. We either poor or we're homeless. You got 2 choices, either poor or you're homeless. We can't, you know what I'm saying, hide from the fact that this is what's going on in our country.
Where America has essentially lost its position as global economic hegemon. The BRICS countries are coming up. They are the rising power. What's America going to do? Because with lack of policy, we'll see what the tariffs are going to do. In the long run, I hope the tariffs work. I hope they do something. Because something is better than nothing. Because nothing means that they keep spending, they keep using, they keep abusing the population to get what they need to push their agenda while at the same time burying us in a position where people need to take debt just to meet the cost of living. Because the average household income now, even in places like Kentucky, average household income doesn't meet the cost of living. So for all those people out there that say the solution is to move to the rural areas, that may be the case. You may be able to find a cheaper home, but the fact is there's not going to be any jobs there. I spent 8 or 9 years in West Virginia. I love West Virginia. It's a beautiful place. Reality is poverty there is crippling. Yes, you can buy a home for cheap, but guess what? Good luck finding a job where you can meet those mortgage payments on the wages that you'll be receiving, because not everybody wants to be a coal miner. And you're like, well, you just have to do what you have to.
My ex-girlfriend lived in Morgantown, West Virginia, and one of her friends was telling me the same thing. It's very hard. I went out there. Beautiful. But it's very hard to find a job, and the jobs that's being taken right now, and it's a risk doing it, a deadly risk doing it, is being in the coal mine. Let him finish talking.
You're lazy. If you think it's normal that you need to work in a coal mine to make ends meet, you have gone back 100, 200 years in thinking. We're supposed to be moving past that. Our society, our civilization, with technology, we are supposed to be moving in a direction that makes life easier. When we talk about AI, when we talk about the automation of the service industry, the great fear is that people are going to be left out to the side. People are going to be left out on their own, unable to find jobs. The hope and dream of a universal basic income for many people, in lieu of the positions that have been taken over by AI, is just, it's a pipe dream. America's not going to give that kind of stuff out for free. And you may say, well, during 2019, 2020, we saw stimulus checks. Why not have something like that? Haven't we seen the consequence of the stimulus checks, the consequence of the government printing money to try to hold up the economy, to hold up people's lives? The sad reality is that the government will never be able to pay for everyone to live, and there doesn't seem to be a way out for most people now. Someone in the comments said that America is the best place to go and make money, but it's the worst place to be left behind, and I can see that. And while you may say, oh, you're poor in a golden cage, the golden cage isn't what you think it is. America has become a serfdom. If you don't pay your bills, if you don't pay your mortgage, if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to go to prison or you're going to be homeless. That's the way that it is. And the fact is, the cost of living has gone up to the point where people aren't being able to make that ends meet without 60.
Has anybody noticed that everything going up except your paycheck? And then when you ask your boss for a raise, they look at you like you're crazy. And that your bosses know that our bosses know everything went up. They know food went up. They know rent went up. They know transportation went up. They know these things. But their thing is, I got mine and I'm just going to give you crumbs. And if you can't survive off them crumbs, I don't know what to tell you. You could come to work and sleep in the street.
Or 80 hours being worked a week. You can say, well, unemployment's the lowest it's ever been. Yes, because that's because everyone's being pressed. That's because the labor market is being squeezed for everything that it's worth. People can't work more than 60, 80 hours a week. And what happens when the cost of living goes up so much that 60 to 80 hours a week won't cut it? What are people going to do then? If you think that America is an unsafe place now, I fear for what it becomes when the cost of living passes the threshold of individual ability to earn income, because we're almost there. And I feel like this isn't a fear-mongering thing. This isn't doom posting. This is just reality. And we need to understand that the normalization of poverty, the normalization of being poor, the normalization of working 60 to 80 hours a week should be a massive red flag. And the attention to that red flag shouldn't only be paid by those who are being affected by it, because soon we all will. If the middle class has been erased, then you have a large segment of the population, the vast majority of the population that exists within the working class now. And if the working class is being driven into ruin, this is going to spell horrible effects for everyone in America. Because you can't just import people left and right. That's not going to be the solution. You can't just call people lazy. That's not going to be the solution. You can't normalize desperation. Not in this country. Because you may have a comparison, say, still to be poor in America is much better than being poor in so-and-so country. But individual expectation, what we expect our lives to be in the contract that we've agreed upon with our corporations, with our government, a failure to meet that also comes with consequences. I think for a long time, Americans have kind of sat by and watched their country go to ruin. We've sat by and watched our money get devalued into nothing. And as long as we've had some semblance of comfort to tell us that, hey, we're okay, no one has actually stood up. No one has actually said anything. But that's coming to an end now. Look at the faces of the people around you. Look at the faces of people who are going to work in the morning in America. A 12-hour shift, a 13-hour shift a day is not normal. To wake up, to shower, to go to work, to come home, maybe have some dinner, and then to go to bed.
Where I work at, right, you see a lot of people either walking around with their faces worried or they're tired because you have to work sometime 8 to 16 hours a day, right? Now you're too tired to eat something, so you jump in the shower to go to sleep, and time is going so fast. About time you hit the bed, you got to get back up and do the same thing. Because if you don't do it, you can't pay your bills and you will be in the street.
This is not normal and it's not sustainable in America. It is wrong. This is wrong. That's not what this country is meant to be. It's not what this country is supposed to be. That is not what millions, it's not what hundreds of millions, billions of people over the generations have sacrificed for us to become. Because the reality of this moment now, America has become nothing more than a farm for the wealthiest people, the managerial class, and corporations to abuse and squeeze the wealth from. Because it's not coming back to America. There's no inheritance now. Our children, if we have children, what do they get? The future of America is bleak. Ask anyone. There's no one here that says the next 10, the next 20 years, America is going to be in a better place. Because we've not seen any change that would say that. There is something dark on the horizon in America that I think everyone kind of senses, but we don't know what it is. Some people think that's going to be World War III. Some people think it's going to be economic crash. Some people say it's going to be an internal war. And honestly, I can't say. I lean more in the direction because all three are complete.
Well, that's what's going on right now. It's an internal war. You have our own American people embezzling and taking money and giving it to other places and putting it in their pocket while we, the American people, struggle for a dollar. We have to make a dollar out of 15 cents.
Plausible at this point. But what I can say that America will probably do what it does best. When it looks like the economy is going bad, we start a conflict with someone else. I mean, that's how we drive our economy now. Military-industrial complex goes into work. The sentiments of patriotism start flying around. People start joining the military to fight for a cause that is obviously going to be a lie. There's no great evil for America to fight right now. There's no 1930s Germany for America to fight right now. The enemies of the...
Or there is evil we have to fight. Sir, there is evil we have to fight. You know the evil we have to fight? Our own people, internally. What do you think Donald Trump is doing right now, man? Elon Musk. They're fighting an internal war right now with people that turned on us.
People are within America. And at some point, the ability for Americans to work so much just to survive in America, eventually that's going to be gone. Lately, all over YouTube, people talk about how the American dream has been lost. American dream hasn't been lost, it's been downsized. They say that you should downsize to make life easier, but how far can you downsize? It's not normal for people to live in vans. This isn't a normal thing. It's not normal for 40-year-old men, 50-year-old men to have 3 or 4 roommates to pay off a mortgage. It's not normal for people not to be able to buy a home. It's not normal for people not to be able to start a family. It's not normal for people not to be able to buy healthy food. It's not normal, but they've made it normal. But out of necessity, it's been normalized. Poverty in America has been normalized. You being poor is the new normal. And they say, shame on you if you're not working 80 hours a week. So what can we do? What can we do as normal Americans? I mean, other than watch out for ourselves, create smaller communities, have each other's back. But the thing is, that's been destroyed in America. The sentiment of community, the idea of community has been destroyed. People don't have each other's back anymore. How many of you watching this video now actually know your neighbor? How can you have community? How can you expect anyone to have your back outside of your family if the family even exists anymore, if you can't even remember anyone's name? Because you don't have time, because you're working 80 hours a week. So how are you going to know your neighbors? How are you going to have time to have barbecues with your friends? Or even at the most basic level, hop on the sticks and play some multiplayer with your friends? You don't have that either. You don't have anything, and they told us this is what it was going to be. You will have nothing, and you will be happy. And that's the reality that we're in now. That time has come, and if it isn't come, it's rapidly approaching. And I don't know what that means for us. I just know that it's not good. I am a normal person. I am a family man. I have to think about the future. I can't just think about the self. And this country is moving in a very dark direction, and it's left us behind. It's not leaving us behind. It's left us behind. And I hate to say, you should just cut and run and you should find another place, because that's a hard thing to do. I don't think the answer is to just move into the rural places, to move into the woods, because that's not sustainable for everybody. America is nothing if the people don't exist in a cohesive society where we believe in each other. We are paranoid now. We look at other people. We look at our countrymen with hostility. We don't look at them like they are our countrymen anymore. What can we do? What's the next move? Because the vast majority of us at this moment right now, we have to kind of sit on the sidelines and do what we have to do to survive, to see what's the next step. We don't have an impact on the macro events. That's for people way above us, and that's what we need to understand. Most of us are going to live our lives, and they're going to be lives of no consequence to the greater society, no consequence to the great story of America, and the direction with which we go next. We just have to sit and wait and hope that we can survive. And this has been the serf's position throughout history. We are now slaves of consequence. The control of individual destiny is slipping through our fingers, and I don't know how we can get it again. I don't know what the next move is. But I can say in the social contract, if a nation state has failed to protect or provide for you, or to give you security, then you have no obligation to serve that same nation state. That social contract has been broken and it's failed. We have to look out for ourselves. And I hate to say that because I believe that a nation doesn't exist without community. A nation doesn't exist without common unity between its people. But for what's coming next, I think that there's no other way. So I guess that's it.
The video ended right there, but we need more people like him and people to start talking about this. We need more people like him and me to start really talking about this. Because if we don't, we're going to be in trouble. Like, share, and leave your comment of what you really think. Is this man telling the truth? Am I telling the truth? We need to start talking about this, and we need to bring it out, because we'll be in trouble. Big Hawk, Yonkers native, street talk. I'm out.